Many thanks for joining me on the news. The headline says on Israel-Hamas truce, more Palestinians freed as truce enters third day. 3 Palestinians shot in Vermont amidst truce. Ship sinks off Greece, rescue in progress. Defense Ministry says Russia destroyed Ukrainian drones and 3 killed, 2 critically hurt in Winnipeg shooting. On Israel-Hamas truce, under a 4-day truce deal, a third batch of 39 Palestinian prisoners has been freed as the exchange of captives between Hamas and Israel continues for a third day. On Sunday night, huge crowds of Palestinians took to the streets in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank as they waited for Red Cross buses carrying the prisoners. Some waved Palestinian flags alongside the flags of the 2 major Palestinian political parties, Hamas and Fatah. Some youth climbed on top of a white bus transporting mostly young men and some female prisoners. Meanwhile, in close by Bitunia, where some Palestinians had also assembled, 3 Palestinians aged 15, 18 and 33 were wounded after Israeli forces fired live rounds, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society PRSC said. 2 children aged 11 and 13 were admitted to a hospital for tear gas inhalation, the PRCS added. Hamas handed over 13 Israeli captives, including 9 children and 4 foreign nationals, 3 Thais and 1 Israeli Russian, to the International Committee of the Red Cross ICRC as part of the truce deal earlier on Sunday. Hamas said in a statement that the Israeli Russian was released in response to Russian President Vladimir Putin's efforts and in acknowledgement of Russia's position in support of Palestine. He is the first male captive to be released since the truce deal began. Joe Biden, U.S. President, said a 4-year-old Israeli-American girl, Abigail Eden, whose parents were killed in the October 7 Hamas attack, was also among those released. On Saturday, the exchange of captives was late by a few hours, and after Hamas accused Israel of violating the truce agreement, the standoff stoked fears that the deal was a risk of derailing. The impasse was resolved following mediation by Qatar and Egypt. Closely 150 Palestinian prisoners and 50 civilian captives held in Gaza are to be released over 4 days under the Israel-Hamas deal. Israel's ground and air assault on the besieged Gaza Strip has so far killed more than 15,000 Palestinians and left vast swaths of the enclave in ruins. Still on Israel-Gaza's truce, according to reports near a university campus in Vermont in the United States, 3 young Palestinian men have been shot. Reports said the incident took place on Saturday evening under the University of Vermont's campus in the city of Burlington. The 3 were identified as Hashim Arwantani, Kinan Abdelhamid, and Tharsin Ahmed. They were studying at 3 different universities in the United States. 2 of the victims are in intensive care, while was due to be released on Sunday, according to the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, ADC. The motive behind the attack is unknown. The Burlington police did not immediately respond to a request for further information. The ADC said it was contacted about the shooting earlier on Sunday and that it has reason to believe it was motivated by the 3 victims being Arab. ADC's director Abed Ayub, according to the information provided, said the 3 victims were wearing a keffiyeh and speaking Arabic. A man shouted and harassed the victims, then proceeded to shoot them, the group said in a statement. Given the information collected and provided, it is clear that hate was a motivating factor in this very shooting. We call on law enforcement to investigate it as such. The surge in anti-Arab and anti-Palestinian sentiments we are experiencing is unprecedented, and this is another example of that hate turning violent. The families of 3 students have urged law enforcement authorities to conduct a thorough investigation into the incident, including treating this as a hate crime. Away from Israel and Hamas troops, now a major rescue effort is underway after a cargo ship carrying 14 crew members and a load of salt sank off the coast of Lesbos Island in Greece as high-speed winds tilted the vessel, causing it to take on water. Early on Sunday, the Comoros flagship Raptor, which was traveling from Dikala, Egypt to Istanbul, sank 4.5 nautical miles, that's 8.3 kilometers southwest of Lesbos. According to the Greek Coast Guard, 5 cargo ships, 3 Coast Guard vessels, Air Force and Navy helicopters as well as a Navy frigate have joined the rescue operation to search for the crew members, of whom only one has been rescued. According to the Coast Guard and taken to Lisbon General Hospital for treatment, the crew member was airlifted from the sea by a Navy helicopter during gale force winds. The ship first reported a mechanical failure at 7 a.m. local time, but by 8:20 a.m. the captain had sent out a mayday distress call and reported that the ship was tilting. The ship disappeared from the radar shortly afterwards. Authorities suspect that the heavy load caused the ship to lift and sink once it took on water. According to reports citing the operating company of the ship based in Lebanon, said that the crew members, including Syrian, Indian and Egyptian nationals. Ships remained docked across many parts of Greece over the weekend, with wind speeds reaching 9 to 10 on the Beaufort scale, meaning a strong gale to storm force. The Beaufort scale, which ranges from 0 to 12, estimates wind strength. An emergency weather warning by the Hellenic National Meteorological Service (AMY) was upgraded on Saturday from worsening weather to dangerous weather phenomena as Storm Oliver, also called Bettina, moved from Adriatic Sea toward Greece. The country has been struck by repeated flooding over recent months after being hit by a series of storms. In September, central Greece was devastated by cataclysmic amounts of rain dumped by Storm Daniel, destroying crops and killing tens of thousands of farm animals across a wide area that is the heart of Greece's agricultural production. Now, officials said on Sunday Russia has thwarted over 20 Ukrainian drone attacks over Russian territory in the past days, including on the capital Moscow, a day after it launched its biggest drone attack against the Ukrainian capital since its full-scale invasion started. 24 Ukrainian drones have been destroyed over the territories of Moscow, Tula, Kaluga, Bryansk and Smolensk Oblast in the past 24 hours, according to Russia's defense ministry. In addition, Russia air defenses intercepted 53 Ukrainian drones during the same period over Ukrainian areas under Russian control, according to the ministry. They included Kharkiv, Kherson, the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic (DPR), and the self-proclaimed Luhansk People's Republic (LPR). 17 HIMARS MLRS multiple launch rocket systems projectiles have been intercepted over the past 24 hours, the ministry added. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said no injuries or damage were reported as a result of the wreckage from intercepted drones. In the Russian region of Tula, one of the drones crashed into an apartment building, resulting in damage to windows and one person receiving a slight cut, according to the Tula governor, Alexei Duymin. An attack that aimed the DPR damaged the power system and left parts of the region without power overnight, according to the DPR's Russian-backed head, Denis Pushilin. Russia's Ministry of Defense also said on Sunday that its air defenses had destroyed 2 S-200 anti-aircraft missiles in the air over the Sea of Azov at around 11 a.m. local time. The attacks follow Russia's largest drone attack against Ukraine's capital of Kyiv since the start of its full-scale invasion, according to local officials. A telegram post from Ukraine's Air Force said it had intercepted 71 Shahed drones across 6 regions of Ukraine, with the vast majority in the Kyiv region. It described the attack as a record number of drones. The attack on Kyiv left 77 residential buildings and 120 establishments in the city center temporarily without power on Saturday before supply was restored later in the day. As the weather grows colder, Ukraine faces fears of a repeat of events from last winter when Russia carried out a sustained campaign of attacks on its energy infrastructure. Early Sunday morning in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, law enforcement officials said 3 people are dead and 2 others were injured during a shooting. The Winnipeg Police Service said the shooting happened just after 4 a.m. nearly a mile west of the city's downtown. Officers arriving at the scene found 5 victims with injuries consistent with being shot, according to a statement. Constable Jason McLeishan, a Winnipeg police spokesperson, said in a statement this incident occurred in a multi-suite residence. No further information regarding a possible motive is available. A man and a woman were pronounced dead at the scene, police said. 3 of the victims were taken to a hospital, and one of those victims later died of his injuries. 2 victims, a man and a woman, remain hospitalized in critical condition, Mikolasian said. The victims' identities have not been released, and police said the investigation into the shooting is still ongoing. The Winnipeg Police Service Forensic Services Unit will be on scene for an extended period due to the gravity of this incident, according to officials. Winnipeg Police's 2022 annual statistical report released in May showed violent crimes rates in Manitoba's capital last year reached the highest levels since 2009, including a record number of homicides, 53, according to the report. On more stories, U.S. Navy foils Israel ship seizure in the Gulf of Aden amidst missile attacks from Houthi-controlled Yemen. The U.S. military has captured 5 attackers who seized an Israel-linked cargo ship. On Sunday, the destroyer USS Mason responded to an SOS call from a commercial tanker that had been taken over by armed assailants in the Gulf, U.S. Central Command announced. The Liberian-flagged tanker, which had been hauling phosphoric acid, was identified as a Central Park by the vessel's company. The ship is managed by Zodiac Maritime Limited, a London headquartered international ship management firm owned by Israel's Ofer family. The U.S. military said the USS Mason, which with help from allied ships, demanded that the commercial ship be released by the attackers. U.S. Central Command said in a statement that subsequently 5 armed individuals debarked the ship and attempted to flee via their small boat. The Mason pursued the attackers, resulting in their vengeful surrender. The statement added that 2 ballistic missiles were fired from Houthi-controlled parts of Yemen in the general direction of the Mason and the Central Park, but landed about 10 nautical miles away from the vessels, resulting in no damage or injuries. Yemen's government in Aden blamed the country's Iran-backed Houthi rebels for the attack. However, the rebels who control the capital, Sana'a, did not acknowledge either the seizure or the missile attack. In African scene, Sierra Leone leader says major unrest leaders nabbed. The country's president has said Sierra Leone has arrested most of the leaders of an armed attack in the capital that has triggered the government to declare a nationwide curfew. Most of the leaders have been arrested. Security operation and investigations are ongoing. President Julius Maada Bio said on Sunday following armed clashes in Freetown after what the government said was an attack on a military armory. The government said it prevented the attack and was in control of the situation. The incident occurred amidst months of post-election unrest in the West African nation. Information Minister Chernobyl said, according to reports, that the government is in firm control of the security situation in Freetown. The attackers are retreating. Sierra Leone Civil Aviation Authority also urged the airlines to reschedule flights. Reports said CAM was slowly returning to the capital on Sunday evening, but checkpoints heavily guarded by security forces remained in place. Videos posted on social media appeared to show men in uniform under arrest in black or beside a military pickup truck. Earlier in the day, witnesses said they heard gunshots and explosions in the city's Wilberforce district, where the armory and some embassies are located. Other witnesses reported exchanges of fire near a barracks in the Murray Town district, home to Navy, and outside another military site in Freetown. The Information Ministry reported attacks on prisons earlier in the day that obliged the security forces to retreat. The prisons were those overrun with some detainees released and others abducted, it said. West Africa's regional bloc, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, condemned the attempt to disturb constitutional order in Sierra Leone in a statement issued on Sunday. In part 2, I'll bring you stories from Nigeria. Do stay with us. You're welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Now from Nigeria, banks prepare for policy shift. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Olayemi Cardoso, has kickstarted a new era of banking supervision and the conduct of monetary policy in earnest beyond his public address at the Bankers' Night in Lagos at the weekend, report said. Already, bank chiefs who are in the queue to curry for the favor of the governor are set to have received a prepare for a new era of banking supervision message from Cardoso, who is said to have spent much of his time studying the operational processes of the Apex Bank in the past 2 months and consulting key stakeholders on issues of concerns. Several sources revealed last week that some bank chiefs have complained of the governor, who is said to have turned down requests for meetings of not being accessible and deliberately avoiding them. A reliable source who is aware of the experiences of some bank executives have said the opportunity to interact with Cardoso said, according to reports, that the CBN boss, who he described as level-headed, calm in his approach to official issues but resolutely fixated, intentionally avoids making friends that will compromise and distract him. The governor's resolve to stay the course in restoring uncompromising banking supervision is said to have rattled the industry mafias who have to the trenches. Regulator-operator relationship, according to sources, has been much more formal than it was previously, while responses to queries have been timely. A chief executive of a Tier 1 bank is said to have written to executive director, heads of departments and other senior executives on the need to step up compliance level to prevent possible sanctions, whereas some said the governor is apprehensive and will not want to make a grievous mistake. A banker who claims to have known Cardoso long enough said he is strict and holds ethical standards in high esteem, values that may put him against a generation of crooked bankers. The CBN offices are also anxious about how the governor policy on board in place and what dislocation could result from the processing. According to reports, at the weekend, the governor has commenced the process of overhauling what insider sources describe as human aspects of reforms. The Apex Bank is said to have begun a broad-based human capacity audit to upskill and redeploy some of the employees for a new central banking era as part of the process. Whereas the shortcoming of the monetary policy is what is more in the face of the public, the new leadership, according to sources, has identified gaps in the banking supervision and other critical departments that must be plugged for effective operation. Now, SERAP to World Bank halt loans to Nigerian states. SERAP, former civil society organization CSO, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, has called on the World Bank President Ajay Banga to pause applications for loans to Nigeria's 36 states over allegations of mismanaging public funds pending satisfactory explanation of spending by beneficiaries. The CSO precisely wanted the bank to promptly, transparently, and effectively conduct an investigation into the spending of loans and other facilities by the country's 36 state governors, and to suspend any loan and funding if there is relevant admissible evidence of mismanagement or diversion of public funds by any of the states, in a letter dated November 25, 2023, and signed by SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadari. It also asked the Global Bank to suspend additional applications for loans and any other funding to the 36 states until these states can satisfactorily explain details of spending of loans and other facilities obtained from the bank and its partners. This was revealed in a statement by SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadari on Sunday. The group said the total public debt portfolio for the country's 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) was 9.17 trillion naira. It also said the federal government's total public debt portfolio stood at 78.2 trillion naira, citing data from Nigeria's Debt Management Office (DMO). Therefore, SERAP urged the World Bank's chief to demand express commitment from Nigeria's 36 governors to address credible allegations of mismanagement or diversion of public funds in their various states. And finally, on the news, over 100 villagers abducted, one killed in Zamfara. Bandits deemed to have been led by the notorious Commander Damina have killed a resident and abducted over 100 others in Mutunji community, Dansadou Emirates in Maru local government area of Zamfara State. It was gathered that Damina had terrified the community and imposed over 110 million naira levy on farmers before they will be permitted to access their farms. An indigent who spoke on condition of anonymity on Saturday said the bandits struck at night. According to him, the latest attack was because the farmers could not pay 110 million naira levy imposed on the farmers by Damina. The bandits came on many bikes and circled the community and went away with the people on Friday night. We need help. The situation is beyond our control. 2 weeks ago, there was confusion amongst the bandits after they were hit on the ground through a plane. The bandits asked the people of Mutunji to give them 50 million naira, those in Farah to give 30 million naira, Mahuta 20 million, Ongwankawo 10 million. That's a total of 110 million naira demanded by Damina. As of Friday, the locals were not able to meet the bandits' demand. Damina came to Mutunji and killed one, inflicted injury on another, and took over 100 locals to the forest. He operated between 9:40 p.m. till around 11 p.m. He took what he wanted and left. He said they must give him the sum of 110 million naira. Previously, he was given 8 million naira, 10 million naira, even 20 million naira was given to him at different occasions. Unspecified amounts were given. When contacted, the Zamfara State Police Command spokesman Yazid Abubakar said he will call the operatives in the affected area and revert. The Mutunji is in Dansadao. It is covered by the military. I'd advise you to reach the military spokesman, the policeman added. Meanwhile, efforts to reach the Deputy Director Public Relations, Northwest Operations of Hadarin Daji, Captain Lurahim Yahaya, proved abortive. A recap of major stories says more Palestinians freed as troops enter for third day. 3 Palestinians shot in Vermont amidst truce. Ship sinks off Greece. Rescue in progress. Defense Ministry says Russia's destroyed Ukrainian drones and 3 killed, 2 critically hurt in Winnipeg shooting. And that's all in the news. Have a good day and enjoy the rest of your week.